A celebrated actor, superstar in his own right. His movies, whichever language they release, he becomes a slightly higher rated star and a heartthrob. Dulquer Salmaan is with us, and we also have a celebrated director, a storyteller, who's decided that let's break the mold a little. Now, why are they here? Because they have a movie which says Chup, and we're going to talk about Chup. So, Balki sir and Dulquer Salmaan, the conversation that we're going to have around, you've come to a news channel and you're sitting with a person who does debate shows every day, but I love talking movies. But we said, let's put some thought around this whole construct around what we're going to speak. So it's about, can critics dictate cinema? And then Balki sir added something before we went to roll. He said, who's going to rate the critics or call out the critics? So that's where the whole construct comes in. But serial killer, you're a heartthrob, I agree, but a movie which is around a serial killer who's out to get critics, how did you get into that? And you say yes to it, is it?
No, I think there's always this broader conversation around actors and, us playing to our safe zones or comfort zones and not breaking the mold or not pushing yourself. So, and the trouble is, at some point or the other, we get boxed in some kind of image that is kind of built organically. Or maybe we've done stuff that works for us. And invariably, you keep getting offered films in that zone. So on the rare occasion that somebody like Balki sir offers you something so out of the box, literally, you just jump at it, And I also believe that the audiences who watch me and watch my films give me the encouragement to really push myself, to try different things. Because I think they also want to see how much I can push myself. So I think it's also an opportunity for me to kind of discover my own range, to see if I can convincingly pull it off or have the conviction to play different roles in different films.
You jumped at it, or you jumped to say, me? Why me?
Exactly that. I was like, how did you think of me in this film?
So how did you think of him in this film? So Dhanush, Dulquer, so something to do with D's now as a trend.
I never thought of it that way. No, actually, if you see the film, because it's a thriller, so it's difficult to say exactly what in the character that...
Is he the killer?
No, watch the film to find out.
So it's a difficult thing to say, but very simple. I think he is a remarkable talent, and when you see the film, he's very humble and he's very understated and he's this. But he's the only guy, fundamentally, in any language that he works in, he's part of that language. He speaks, of course, all the languages, as well as anybody from that state or that language can speak. And secondly, I think his pitch of performance is the most beautiful I've seen. It's very understated, it's very casual. Even the most, deep and profound things, it's extreme casualness. It's very today, it's very pitched so right. And sometimes a lot of people do these understated stuff, but they don't have the throw. He has that understated thing with a lot of throw. So that's a very rare kind of quality, and he's one of those very rare actors in Indian cinema who's got that.
कॉलर वाला शर्ट पहनना चाहिए था डुल्कर ना कॉलर उठा सकता था देखो बाल्की सर क्या क्या बोल रहे हैं but what do you agree, do you believe that critics need to rein it in a little?
I think
does it worry you, does it bother you?
No, not really. I see, more or less, obviously not to pinpoint particular critics, but if you take the average critic rating or the general opinion of a film, it's not very off from the actual film. And a lot of the times they're not telling us anything that we don't already know. If we feel there's a problem in the film or there's a problem area in the film, we already know this. And either we were not able to fix it for some reason, or we couldn't go back and shoot it, or somehow we identified it too late. But they're not going to really point out something we don't already know. But there are times when there's different agendas and people kind of go after certain films, or so those I think are a little insensitive because it's a film is never it belongs to one person. There's so many of us involved in the film, so it's disheartening if a film is being pulled down, even if you personally don't like somebody. It can be something as simple as that. Like somebody just doesn't like my face, and therefore doesn't.
Or perhaps they like your face a little too much to get your attention. They just decide, let me just go after it.
That also.
Possible, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
how can he be so good looking? And when is he going to give me some attention? Let me just pan him. Let me get his attention.
Yeah, I'm sure
Has that happened with you?
For sure.
Somebody comes after you just because they want your attention.
I think that is the case a lot of the time. At least that is the advice more mature, experienced people have told me. They're like, you know why they're coming after you, because there's obviously something there, or it's a way for them to gain attention or clicks or whatever it is.
Get your attention.
Yeah.
Okay. So you asked your dad sometime how to deal with this?
My dad's best examples are, there were some critics in the 80s who were out to get me, who said they'll finish me off and that he's done and all of this jazz. And he's like, and now I don't even know where they are. I don't hear their names anymore. I don't know if they're still around, but I'm still here. Now I'm sure there's some new critics after me. So it is true. I've been here 10 years. I don't know if it's the same people attacking me from the first 3 years or attacking me now. So there's something there. When you read it, you feel kind of picked on or affected. But you
read all the criticism. You don't just block it. You read
I read everything. I should probably block them, but
doesn't affect you? Doesn't affect you?
I think it drives me. It affects me. Like, definitely shows my face. My family knows when I'm looking a little off, and they're like, "Stop reading." They don't even ask me questions. They know it's from my reading. But I genuinely think that's my drive. When people ask me how I'm juggling so many films, or like how I'm constantly working this much or putting out so many films, like this is my 4th or 5th release in the course of a year. I think this is the drive. And
that you do so much work that they will not be able to criticize you.
You can't criticize every film. No? Every film is different. Every role is different. So like I keep giving them new things to pick on or something, or let them find something. But it won't be the same opinion every time.
ये इस जनरेशन का कीड़ा है. You must have really felt it, no? When somebody, I remember that line कि इस movie में चीनी कम है, something like that they had said, no? Remember? And I was like, कौन है भाई ये picture तो देख ले, उसके बाद decide कर लेगा.
But that's such an easy thing to say, no? It's like
No, but I'm just saying
like
that.
Just play on the title of a film.
Correct.
It's like the lowest hanging fruit.
Yeah, but my point is that people who write it like that, on what basis are they writing it?
Because they'll write lots of things. They can say audience ne chup kara diya, chup ko. Something.
Chup kara
Anything they can say. That's the way they are. That's part of the fun writing. That is not an issue.
But is it fair that somebody who's not part of the movie process, somebody who's not contributed anything to it, can sit and perhaps then decide the fate of the movie? Is that fair?
You're talking of critics,
Yeah.
the professional critics. See, I think they have a job to do. They are professional critics. You're paid to analyze a film and tell people how to look at this film, what to like about it, what they feel it, and guide people towards and away from certain things. Because otherwise you just see the same thing over and over again. But what happens sometimes, and not sometimes, most of the time is, there are some critics, there are many kinds of people. Some people say, I'm watching it exactly like the audience. You're not supposed to watch it like the audience. To watch it like the audience, there is the audience. They don't need you.
Correct.
Okay, you're supposed to watch it from a different point of view to add value to what the audience is thinking or feeling. I'd rather upgrade their level of entertainment, or take it to a new direction, or kind of expose them to newer things. Nothing like that happens a lot of times. And a lot of times what happens is you are almost writing and talking as if you are the judgment passer on something which doesn't belong to you. So you forget your job as one of responsibility, and you you think of it as power. That reeks in the writing. What angers me is, you just say, you smile, or even if you don't like some food or something, you say, nice. No, it's okay, fine, I don't want anything more. That's all you say. You don't say, now I've got the power to tell you whether your food is good or not. I've served you. And you're telling me I'm eating and saying, I will tell you whether it's shit or not. That's not the reason why I served it to you. I served it to enjoy. If you don't enjoy it so much, don't eat more. Say something politely. I'm not asking you to like everything in the world. No, you can't like everything in the world. You have to call out certain things. But there are ways to call out. And what generally happens is when there are mistakes made, they don't understand the implications of it. Because the mistakes sometimes, a lot of films do need critics to kind of tell the audience what the film is about. And if they go wrong there, a lot of people's lives can go for a toss. A lot of people's careers can go for hell, because this is a kind of funny industry where you dream of something. Everybody thinks life ends here. It's one of those things, life missions. If I don't succeed here, you can destroy careers. And firstly, very few people are qualified to criticize. Okay, chalo, we're not even questioning qualifications. You don't need any qualifications or anything here. Fine. You've come there. Think of it as responsible. Forget you didn't have responsibility. Suppose you exercise a power. There is nobody to stop. There is nobody to hold them accountable. They've got a publication, they've got a site, they've got followers, they're out there in the public, they call themselves a critic, and they've assumed that they are the supreme code of life. Who is there to stop them? My only thing is, you can hold me accountable. I'm not even saying write kindly. You please write what you want. But if you're wrong, who is there to tell you that you have damaged something? This is your punishment. You've punished me by killing me. Okay? You're laughing away, going to the next one.
So then how do you fix accountability? I know Chini Kam, you have yourself stated when it started, the reviews, first set of reviews from somebody senior affected you. So how do you make that person accountable? Because the net result of the movie should have affected you positively, but mentally it affected you negatively because you were stuck on one review. How do you move from that? I can also turn around and I say, Balki sir, 10 लोग अच्छा बोले, एक बंदे ने खराब बोला, आप वो एक बंदे को लेके अटके हो. You are stuck on that one person. What about the other 9? So why can't you move on? Why should you get affected?
It's like asking, you're telling somebody who's supposed to create something to have a thin skin to create. All people are thin-skinned people because you're sensitive, you're getting feelings all. And suddenly you say, when you at your convenience, you say, no, develop that thick skin. How does one person have 2 skins? It's not possible, no, in life. So you're asking us to the impossible. Understand you and understand myself. Oh, I don't even understand myself as well. How will I understand you and me? It's a difficult job. So I'm saying it's not my thing. You are responsible because the public, you're in a position to influence the public. Anyone who is in a position to influence the public has to be held accountable on the same terms as the terms apply to a lot of things.
Correct.
When you influence public, why isn't it applicable to them? Why are they getting away with it? Where are the do's and the don'ts? Why is everybody so scared that somebody is going to write badly about me?
We need to be critiqued. We need to be told if we're going in the right direction, if we're convincing as actors or gave a convincing performance. I think all of that is important. But like Sir said, like it should, a lot of the times, I mean, anybody in any place of power, it can even be somebody who has to let you through a door or not. You know, it can go to their heads, right? So it shouldn't be a power trip. And that is increasingly becoming so. You know, if a critic decides he's going to finish you off, no, you can't really finish off somebody.
But the point is, critics can get away and say, listen, you know, public liked the movie, like Andaz Apna Apna, and so many other movies which are there, panned by the critics, but became a huge hit. R. Rajkumar, everybody, what kind of movie it is? It became a big grosser. There are so many movies like that. A random masala movie, public went in, they enjoyed it, and then they came back because they wanted a random masala movie, and it just clicks. Some of them just click like that. Others, you believe, oh, it's a work of art, you must watch it, and it bombs. It just bombs. The critics give you a thumbs up, but the audience gives you a thumbs down.
But then they should also go to critique those films based on the genre of the
movie.
Now, if you're going to critique a masala film, then critique it along with all the great masala films of the past.
So how should we approach Chup?
Very simply, their job is not to figure out whether this movie will bomb or he'll be a hit. Their job is to tell people what the film is. It's up to people to decide whether they want to see the film or not. Why are you saying I'll give good reviews, only those I think it will work, which will work? That's not my job as a critic. They forget that.
Yeah, then you're not doing your job responsibly. Yeah. It's coming with an agenda or a particular intent behind it. Now let's talk about Chup.
Yeah.
Where did the idea come from? How is Guru Dutt Saab somewhere linked to all of this?
I'll tell you, Guru Dutt was one of the iconic names whose last film, Kaagaz Ki Phool, today is called a cult classic by the esteemed critics and a lot of the writers of cinema. Those times you should have seen the reviews of Kaagaz Ki Phool. They've said weak script. There's very crazy things about that stuff. We've only used the more polite ones. It's so harsh. And
it drove him to extremes.
It is crazy. Even if the film doesn't work, sometimes films don't work with the audience. But you at least live with the fact that people are appreciating your work. Yeah, sometimes it may not be enough for the audience. But you don't get either. Then you're going to get jacked a bit because you do live for appreciation. You do put out a piece of work for appreciation. Some way that helps you. And Chup actually happened because when I did my very first film, I didn't know anything about the way critics work and everything, so I just opened the newspaper like all people do, and I thought I'd make a good film, and I was panned by the most important critic in those days, and I went in depression. Though the film did well, people loved it, all those things happened, many people wrote wonderful things about it, but sometimes when you read it, and that's the craziness of being a filmmaker or any person, because you're not thinking so logically, you're not in the resilience game. The resilience game builds up with a lot of people hammering you. So from that time, I just thought of this entire, how did this guy, he's got some agenda, of course he had other agendas, which I got to know about later, but how did this chap get away doing this in a major publication, out there, a wrong thing, and he's written a lot of wrong things about it, which even anybody will tell you it's absolutely wrong, and taking off on somebody because of some agenda, and happily going to review the next film next Friday. And I'm getting depressed out here. He can't tell me consolation. It didn't matter. Yeah, your film was a hit. Avish, I'm still going through the depression. Yeah. What are you paying for that? You don't get that. So that has remained in my head for a very long time. And when I wanted to do that film, then finally the lockdown brings out a lot of locked up emotions.
Locked up emotions, correct. So that's where. And so have you used anything from Kaagaz Ke Phool? Is part of the soundtrack?
Yeah. A lot of this, from Pyasa and Kaagaz Ke Phool, I've used a lot of tracks recreated. But it's just like a homage to a sensitive artist. It's just that.
Did you know that there was this element when you got into the script and the thought process?
The Guru Dutt element to the film? I think you mentioned it. Yeah, it was there. Definitely the core of the film was told to me, and but as soon as you start reading it, it's throughout there in the film. There's I love that about it. I think that's what kind of gives you a different viewing experience, because there's small references here and there to Kaagaz Ke Phool and to Guru Dutt sir, and his songs keep coming and playing. So there's definitely a generation of young film goers who are not familiar with his work or the sounding of his songs. Like I know, for instance, a friend of mine, I was at his house, and he usually is always playing whatever's the most popular film or Punjabi music or whatever. And suddenly he's playing Guru Dutt songs. And I was like, and I was on the phone and started to play, and I was like, what? How come? He's like, no man, your trailer, like it just...
it's just playing on my head.
It's playing my mind, and then I felt like I have to go revisit it, but at least he's my age. But the youngsters today, I think we're going to definitely open up a different side to of like music and movies to them. I think that I'm quite curious about that.
Recently, there's been this thing tussle between South doing better than the North in terms of Hindi film industry versus South. Do you believe there is a difference? Is it scale? Is it story? Is it treatment? Or is it just understanding the audience a little more?
No, I've also been just privy to observe all the different industries, even my growing up.
Correct.
Maybe I never recognized I wanted to be an actor, but there was a deep love for cinema, and because your father's in it, you are kind of consciously also observing it as an industry and not just consuming the movies. So I've seen each of our industries go through good phases, bad phases, and sometimes there's a disconnect where we lose our own sort of identity. I've seen it. We're trying to cater to something that's working in another industry, or something that, or maybe, for example, in Malayalam, there's a period when bigger Tamil films are working. So suddenly we started making films like that, but not really telling our stories. It was always set in these border towns. People speak Tamil and Malayalam. It was these crossover. There's some phrase.
Trying to saddle two markets at the same time. Yeah.
But it wasn't. Not that we were pitching those films in Tamil either. It was strange. So we were a little lost there, I feel like. And then around the time I finished college, I suddenly see a new generation of filmmakers who started to tell stories that they understood, or of their surroundings. And that started to really work. And that clicked. And I personally believe, this is my observation, that for that young group of filmmakers who decided to start doing realistic, or whatever, go back to that realistic cinema that we were famous for in the 80s, there could have been an influence of a Dil Chahta Hai or a Farhan Akhtar. and giving them that courage to be like, hey, I can tell a story of me and my group of people. So you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there are those
in
influences.
in the local
Yeah.
flavor.
And then that grew and grew and grew and grew. And now, you know, we're definitely one of the most celebrated industries right now.
Correct.
But then you cannot negate the influences that Hindi has had on other industries. So wherever something works, we all look towards that side. And there are key learnings. And also there are times when there is a disconnect from what we're telling and what the audience is preferring to watch. What is drawing them to the cinemas. But this drawing people to cinemas is a common problem across all industries. Now, what we're hearing on a national level are the best films across industries.
Yeah.
But every industry also has so many weekends where nothing's working. You know, and we never talk about the films that don't work. Maybe the stuff that have not worked nationally have been some big, highly anticipated films. But at the same time, they're not talking about the films that worked, like a Bhool Bhulaiya or a Chup and Should worked.
Yeah.
And those are films we enjoyed, and we came to the theaters to watch. So I don't know, but again, we like interesting copy. We like to look at something in a negative light and put down one while praising the other. So it's very interesting to observe all of this. Sometimes in praising the other, are you also fully supporting that? Then suppose we make a bad film down south, are you still going to support that? No. People are going to still come to... I genuinely believe the audience always knows what they want to watch.
We've got limited time, so I'm just going to quickly ask you 2 or 3 questions. One is this whole thought of free movie. What's this logic? Is it just in your face for the critics, or is it because you wanted to see what the audience reaction is before you release the movie officially?
It's meant for them. They have to see it first. Why somebody who's not meant for having to see it before? We show every film to critics free. All our lives we've shown it. We call them, ask them, invite them, put them in this thing, and then they trash us free. At least show it to people who are really going to enjoy it and say, okay, they have no agenda, no nothing, please see it, everything goes. So we want an actual opinion of anybody without anything, because you'll know from the audience. They will like it, they have nothing to prove to anybody. And there are no equations out here. You don't even know a single person there. So it was an interesting exercise. And I also believe that any product, I mean, a cinema, I hate to call it a product, but it is in a strange kind of a way. You see a chair, no, before you buy it, don't check. This is the only thing where you come, I won't show you. Pay the money. If you don't like it, too bad, go.
Too bad, go. Correct.
So it's a very funny kind of a thing. So I said, why don't we just discuss it and say, let's show it to people. Let them spread the word. Why can't they spread the word?
But that's a huge risk, isn't it, Dulquer?
I don't know, actually. I mean, also it's a very unique idea. It's a unique type of film.
So are you going to sneak into one of the theaters and watch it?
Ideally, I'd love to.
Okay, which one? We'll find out and I'll let it out. No, please, complete.
No, so it's a film that when we finished and we watched it and we all loved the film, but we were like, how do we market this film? You know, like, also it's got certain interesting elements that we can't discuss. You know, so many times when I'm promoting a film, I'm like, I wish we could have the discussion post-release, because then you guys can tell me what you thought, or whatever. We can have that kind of discussion.
All right, so we've got to wind up. But before we wind up, I'm going to ask you to just look down the barrel and make individually your appeal about Chup.
To everybody watching, we have our film Chup that's coming out on the 23rd. In fact, on the 20th, 3 days before release for the first time. We're putting the film, showing it to the audience, to all of you, in 11 cities in India and also in the Middle East. To know your opinion, to know what you thought, whether you liked it or disliked it or loved it or hated it, whatever it is that you feel, and for you guys to share your reviews. There's going to be review walls at the screenings, and so let's see what you guys think. But for those of you who didn't get those tickets, feel free to check with your fellow viewers who got to watch the screening and take a call if you want to watch it. But we are really excited to share the film with all of you on the 23rd. It's as wide a release as we can make it. It's a film that is made with a lot of love. We really enjoyed making it. It's a fun film. It's nothing to go with any major preconceived notions. It's